unfold. When archaeologist Howard Carter pried open the tomb of Tutankhamun back in 1922, he didn't just unleash a flood of golden treasure. Nope, he also unleashed a story that would terrify the world for 100 years, the deadly curse of the Boy King. But behind that legend of supernatural revenge, there's a completely different story, and honestly, it's probably even more fascinating. It's one of media rivalry, raw political ambition, and some seriously cool forensic science. So let's unwrap the truth.
This is the line. This is the warning that was supposedly carved at the entrance to the tomb. A really chilling prophecy that seemed to come true when a whole string of mysterious deaths started happening right after discovery. It didn't take long for it to become the most famous curse in history.
Because here's the interesting part. When you actually go looking for this ancient warning in the historical record, you find something completely different. The real story you see isn't about magic at all. It's about how you manufacture a myth.
Okay, so to really understand the curse, we have to go right back to the beginning. The year is 1922, and we're in Egypt's famous Valley of the Kings.
Howard Carter was pretty much at the end of his rope. His rich patron Lord Carnarvon was just about to pull all his funding after years of digging up nothing but sand. This was it. This was his last shot. And then, on November 4th, a young Egyptian water boy stumbled on a step cut into the rock. And just like that, Carter was standing on the brink of the greatest archaeological find in history.
So on November 26th, with Lord Carnarvon right there beside him, Carter made this tiny little hole in a sealed doorway. You can just imagine the scene, right? Hot air from a 3,000-year-old tomb rushes out as he peers in with a candle. Carnarvon, all anxious, asks, "Can you see anything?" And Carter's reply, "Yes, wonderful things." It just echoed around the globe. It kicked off this worldwide obsession with the Boy King and set the stage for a legend that would turn out to be way more durable than gold.
The public was absolutely captivated. But the curse that we all know today? Well, it wasn't actually found inside the tomb. It was invented in the newsrooms of some very frustrated journalists.
So here's how it all went down. Lord Carnarvon, probably trying to control the story and make some of his money back, sold the exclusive media rights to the Times of London. Well, this made the rest of the world's press furious. They were all stuck in Luxor with no access and some very angry editors breathing down their necks. Since they couldn't get the facts, they needed a story. And when Lord Carnarvon died just a few months later, boy, did they get one.
There was this one rival reporter for the Daily Mail, Arthur Weigel, who was especially ticked off. At the tomb's opening, he saw Lord Carnarvon laughing and joking around and supposedly mutter to a friend that he gave the guy 6 weeks to live. Now, when Carnarvon died not long after, Weigel's little off-the-cuff remark was suddenly no longer just a snarky comment. The press spun it into the very first fulfilled prophecy of the Pharaoh's curse.
Now, to make the curse feel really real, the media needed a smoking gun, an actual ancient artifact. So stories started popping up about a clay tablet found inside the tomb, one that was inscribed with that terrifying warning about swift wings. This gave the curse the historical legitimacy it was missing.
But, and this is the most important part, that tablet never existed. It is a complete fabrication. Howard Carter was meticulous. He cataloged all 5,398 items that came out of that tomb, and there is no record, no photograph, no mention of any tablet like that. The physical proof of the curse was just something the media made up.
So, if it wasn't a curse, what really happened? All right, let's turn to the forensic truth, starting with the man whose death kicked this whole legend off.
Lord Carnarvon's death wasn't mysterious at all. In fact, he was already in pretty poor health from a car accident years before. The chain of events is actually tragically mundane. He got bitten by a mosquito in Cairo. Later, he nicked that same bite while shaving, and the opened wound got a nasty bacterial infection. This led to blood poisoning and then pneumonia, which his already weakened body just couldn't fight. It wasn't magic, it was just medicine.
And this really points to the biggest hole in the entire curse theory. If there was a curse, it was incredibly bad at its job. Just look at the people who were the most involved. Lord Carnarvon's own daughter, Lady Evelyn, one of the very first people to step inside that inner chamber, she lived for another 57 years. The official photographer, Harry Burton, lived for 17 more. And the main man himself,
Howard Carter, the man who literally broke the seals, who led the whole excavation. He lived for another 16 years, dying at the ripe old age of 64. The #1 desecrator of the tomb suffered 0 supernatural consequences. None.
So,
The curse is a myth, total bust. But that doesn't mean the tomb didn't have some incredible secrets. The real mysteries weren't magical at all. They were hidden in the tomb's construction and in its treasures.
Archaeologists noticed right away that things were, well, a little off. For a pharaoh, the tomb was tiny, more like a crypt for a nobleman. And really strangely, only the burial chamber itself was painted, which is a dead giveaway of a rush job. And then there were these weird brown spots all over the beautiful artwork. And the science behind these spots is actually so cool. DNA analysis showed they're just dead microbes. They grew because the tomb was sealed up while the paint on the walls was still wet, trapping all this moisture and basically creating a perfect incubator. This is forensic proof that Tutankhamun died unexpectedly, forcing his people to scramble to get a tomb ready in a hurry.
And that rush job? It had a political motive. On the wall of the burial chamber, Tutankhamun's successor, a vizier named Ai, is shown performing the funeral ritual. But if you look closely, Ai is already wearing the crown of a living pharaoh. This is unheard of. He was using his dead predecessor's tomb to legitimize his own claim to the throne. A political coup painted right there on the wall for all to see.
And get this, even the world-famous golden mask holds a secret. It has pierced ears. Now, in Egyptian art, that was a feature for women and children, not for male pharaohs. The evidence suggests the mask and a bunch of other treasures were originally made for a female ruler, probably Nefertiti, and were just hastily repurposed for King Tut's burial. The final and maybe the most tragic secret of all wasn't hidden in the gold or on the walls. It was hidden in the remains of the king himself.
For years, the popular theory was that Tutankhamun was murdered. But modern CT scans and DNA analysis tell a totally different story. He wasn't assassinated. He was a frail young man, a product of incest, who suffered from a clubfoot, a degenerative bone disease, and repeated severe bouts of malaria. And the scans revealed a badly broken leg that showed no signs of healing at all.
So you see the huge difference here. The legend gave us a powerful king, protected by ancient dark magic. The reality reveals a story that's so much more human, and frankly, more tragic. A disabled teenager, weakened by genetic disorders and chronic illness, who most likely died from a simple infection after breaking his leg, which is a kind of eerie echo of what happened to the man who found him, Lord Carnarvon.
And that leaves us with one final question. We started with this supernatural curse that captured the imagination of the whole world. But what we've uncovered is a true story of media manipulation, a political power grab frozen in time, and the tragic life of a boy king hidden behind a golden mask. So which story, in the end, is actually more powerful?